Hey everybody, so just a quick video, going to show you a Poppet modification. So buddy of mine Ron told me about this trick for getting the retaining ring off of the factory Poppet. And yeah, these things are a real pain to try to remove if you use any other method. But what we're going to use is a pair of lineman's pliers, or some people call them bullnose pliers, but pretty heavy duty pliers. And the technique is you take the top jaw and stick it on the stem, take the bottom jaw and put it against the open side of the retaining ring, and then you just squeeze the pliers together. And it may take a couple attempts there, but it popped. It's almost off right there. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but yeah, it's a whole lot easier than sitting there just trying to pull it with pliers. But now you can see it's just kind of barely on there. So I'm gonna, at this point, try to just go ahead and push it on off. And a punch probably isn't the best tool. So to finish it off, we'll use try some needle nose pliers now. And that's so close to being off. There she goes. Alright. So definitely these lineman pliers, that technique works the best. Once that's done, you can go ahead and disassemble your Poppet if you wanted to replace the internal O-ring. But what we're going to do is use a 2mm E-clip. You can get these things off Amazon or anywhere. They're pretty inexpensive. But by going back with an E-clip, it's going to make future disassembly of the Poppet a whole lot easier. But the main reason I'm doing this is because the factory retaining clip's pretty small, especially when it's crimped onto the Poppet, and that can cause your sear to mash down, so to speak. In other words, it can compress your sear fork, and that reduces the lift on the Poppet itself. So I'm going to take a 4mm washer and stick over the Poppet stem. Then I'm going to take a 3mm washer and stick it over the Poppet stem. And then I'm going to put my 2mm E-clip on there, which these can be a trick when you're trying to hold the Poppet stem out and install the E-clip. I can push the stem out a little bit more to where I can install my E-clip. This can be tricky and aggravating. Once you get it started on there, you just take your pliers and finish crimping it on. There we go. I'm not going to lie, that can be aggravating, but the trick is to use the washers, the 3mm washer, push it into that groove in the Poppet shaft to keep it from trying to fly apart, and then take your E-clip and slide it in the groove. It's not going to snap in there just holding it with pliers. You just want to get the start of the E-clip in the groove. Then you can release pressure on the Poppet, take your pliers and finish snapping it on in. It can be aggravating, but there's the mod. So now you can see the washers provide a much larger contact surface for your sear fork or hammer fork, and so it's not going to compress the hammer fork over time. Well, talking about compressing, it'll compress the thickness of it. It'll actually mash it, if you will. So that will reduce the lift on your valve, and eventually you'll have to replace your sear. Now, it's not a problem using the factory hammer spring, but going to a heavy hammer spring, you can actually compress these forks using the factory retaining clip, because it's pretty small. Right now it doesn't look terribly small because it's been expanded to get it off the poppet, but once that's actually crimped, it's not very large in diameter, and it's certainly not as large as the 4mm washer that we just installed on our poppet. So that works out well, and that 4mm washer fits the fork really well, and that's how it would be engaged in the rifle. So that 4mm washer almost spans the entire width of the sear fork or hammer fork, so that we're spreading that load over a larger surface area. And that's the Poppet mod.